Hello and tikana to everyone. This is Anna Maria. Welcome to Gardening Tips in Antigone's Greek Cooking. Today is very special because I'm celebrating the New Year's holiday with my mom, Antigone. And this is my mom, Antigone, next to me. And she's the one who has created all of these wonderful Greek recipes that I'm sharing on my channel.
Hello.
Today is a wonderful day because we are going to share with you one of my mom's most amazing recipes. My kids all love it. It's a recipe for Greek Vasilopita. Greek Vasilopita is a traditional Greek cake made during the New Year's holiday. Greek people often put coins in these cakes, and it is said that the person who gets the piece of cake with the coin in it will have good luck for the whole rest of the year. So now my mom and I are going to show you how to make Greek Vasilopita. So the first ingredient we use is called mastic gum. Mom has put some sugar, about a tablespoon of sugar, in this mortar and pestle, and she's going to add the teaspoon of mastic gum. You can see they're little teardrop shapes that look a little bit like gum, actually. It looks a little bit like, what would you say it looks like?
Yeah, some chew it as a gum.
She said some people in Greece actually chew it as a gum. Mm-hmm. And then she pounds the sugar together with the mastic gum. Mastic gum is a resin. It's called, what is it called in Greek?
Mastichi.
Mastichi, or mastic gum. It's found in the bark of a tree that grows only on the Greek island of Chios. So it only grows on one Greek island in the entire world called Chios. It has an incredible smell, which is what makes the bread really special and unique. And it has been used as a remedy for inflammatory bowel disease, indigestion, acid reflux, peptic ulcers, and a lot of other diseases over the years. And I will put some links that let you know where you can get this mastic gum. We usually get it at the Greek store. But if you don't have a Greek store, you can get it online. And I'll put links in the description for where you can get it. But this is just a very special spice grown only on one Greek island in the whole world. And that's what makes the bread really unique. So Mom pounds it in this mortar and pestle until
becomes powdery.
Until it becomes powdery, so you can see what it looks like. It looks gum-like and a little bit yellow.
Yeah, it has to have a tablespoon of sugar underneath it.
It has to have the tablespoon of sugar to become like a powder, more like a powder.
To be able to also, pound it. We use the sugar to make it easy to pound.
Yeah, that's right. So the sugar makes it easy to pound it into a powder.
Mm-hmm. And when they are very, very dry, it's better. They are gummy early on, but when they get when they age, this age, it's just like guts.
So my mom is saying that when it ages, it becomes drier and easier to pound.
Yeah.
When you first get it, it might be gummy, but the longer that it sits in its container, the drier it becomes, and the more easily pound it will become.
Good. This did it very nicely and fast.
And because this is older, you see how it's all powdery now? The whole thing is powdery and it doesn't look like it did before, and that's what you want it to look like.
If it's too fresh, they can eliminate covering it and let it
So Mom
Let it
says
dry.
if it's too gummy, you can take off the cover and let it dry a little bit.
Let it dry.
So the next thing we're going to do is put some whole cinnamon sticks in this mortar and pestle so we can break them apart a little bit. And my mom took the mastic gum mixture and put it in a little cup so we could use this to break the whole sticks apart just a little bit. And after that, we put them in a coffee grinder to make them into a very fine powder.
You can put a cloth on the top if you want, so they won't pound out of it.
So my mom sometimes puts a cloth on the top so that they won't fly out of the mortar and pestle when she breaks them apart. So this is what it looks like when she breaks them apart. And then we'll put them in the coffee grinder to finish. And this is what it looks like, the cinnamon looks like after my mom ground it up in the coffee grinder. You can see now it's just an amazing smelling powder. And she uses this brush
To get it all out.
to get it all out.
Every speck is helpful for them to stay in.
She gets every speck out of the lid.
Yeah.
So now we have our tablespoon of sugar with our teaspoon of the mastic gum and our 2 or 3 ground up sticks of cinnamon. So we're going to sift 10 cups of flour into this big yellow bowl. And then we're going to sift in 1.5 cups of sugar. And now we're going to add our mastic gum, our spice from the island of Chios. We're going to add that into the bowl. It smells so amazing. You just have to smell it. And then we are going to add the cinnamon that we ground in the coffee grinder. So Mom's adding that in there. Now you can see that Mom is mixing the dry ingredients together a little bit with a spoon. So here I am in my mom's kitchen, and the first thing that you want to do is take a little saucepan like this, and I warmed a cup of water in there, and you put it over low heat, so I used a 4, and then I checked it and made sure that it was lukewarm, or like a baby's bath water. And now I'm going to pour it into this red bowl. So again, this is about a cup of water. And then I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of yeast into this red bowl with the 1 cup of water. This is Fleischmann's active dry yeast. This is the yeast my mom has at home. I use Red Star yeast a lot when I'm at home. But anyway, regardless of the yeast that you use, just put about 3 tablespoons into this cup of warm water. Again, it's lukewarm. It's about the temperature of a baby's bath water and not so hot that it will burn your finger. Now just stir it up a little bit to mix it with the water. And then we want to just wait a little bit to see if it activates. When it activates, it bubbles. You can see that this is starting to bubble. And since my yeast is bubbling, I'm going to add just a teaspoon of sugar and stir it in there. You see how that's bubbling, and we'll continue to let it activate a little bit. And now you can see that my yeast is really bubbling here. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of flour, just sprinkle it in, and then stir it a little bit with this wooden spoon. My mom said it's better to use the wooden spoon to stir the yeast than this stainless steel spoon, because the wooden spoon won't affect the temperature of the mixture. It won't cool it down at all. So that's what I'm gonna do. We'll let it sit and activate a little longer. You want your yeast to activate in a warm spot. My mom's kitchen is already warm from cooking all day. Just making sure it's not a hot spot, but just a little bit warm. You can, my mom sometimes covers it, the mixture, with a towel like this, but just don't leave it for too long, because this, you can see the yeast is already rising to the top of the bowl. And here I am back in Mom's kitchen. I'm going to warm up these 2 sticks of butter. This is unsalted butter with 1.5 cups of milk. This happens to be 1%, but you can use whole milk too. So I'm going to put it into this saucepan. You can see. And take the butter out and put that in there as well. It's very easy to warm these up together. And then I'm just going to warm them over some low heat. I'm going to use like a 3 over here and warm these up a little bit. You can see that our yeast has fluffed up beautifully and is pretty much ready to go. My mom sometimes puts a square pan under it if it looks like it might overflow. But it's all looking great. You're just going to make sure to melt the butter into the milk. You can stir it with a wooden spoon every now and again. And now the butter is all melted into the milk, as you can see. At that point, I simply turn the heat off. The last wet ingredient I have are the 6 eggs, and you can see I've cracked 6 eggs into this stand mixer. And I'm simply going to plug it in and mix the eggs together. And now that we're done with both the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients, the next step is to mix them all together. So let me show you how to do that. Here's our big bowl, and you can see that my mom made a big well in the center, so we can put our wet ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and pour my yeast in there. Make sure that the mixture is warm and not hot, because if it's hot, it could kill the yeast. And then the eggs. What I do is I mix all the wet ingredients in with the dry ingredients. And you just want to keep turning the dough over until all the flour and the dry ingredients are mixed in with the wet ingredients. You can see that the dough is very sticky, but that's okay. If you would want to, you can put a little bit of flour on your hands. But I like to have the dough a little bit sticky because I find that it rises better and the bread is more moist when it cooks. But if you do want to, you can see I have a little bowl of flour. You can put a little flour on your hands just to help you to knead the dough. Just make sure that there isn't any more flour on the bottom of the bowl, that everything's all mixed well together. And you do want to end up with a slightly sticky dough. I have kneaded it about 15 minutes. You can see it's still slightly sticky to my touch, or pretty sticky. but there isn't any flour on the bottom of the bowl. Now I'm going to get ready to let it rise. And then I'm putting the dough in a warm place to rise. So I'm putting this in my mom's oven to rise, and I'm covering it with a towel. To put the coins in the bread, Mom and I usually use dimes. You can use quarters. She said Mom said many people do use quarters, but we like to use dimes because they're easier to hide. And the first thing you do is just wash them with soap. And that's what Mom's doing. She's just washing them with some soap here. Soap and water. And after that, we put them in a saucepan and fill the saucepan with water. My mom covered the pot so that it will boil quicker. We used 4 dimes because we're going to make 4 breads. Then you bring it to a boil, let it boil for 1 or 2 minutes. That's all it really needs. And then you turn the heat off. Now I'm checking my bread, and you can see that it has risen over the top of my bowl. It's about doubled in size. So when it does that, when it rises over the top of your bowl and doubles in size, you can punch it down and let it rise again. So that's what I'm going to do. So here I am with my huge dough here. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to punch it down. And now it's not as sticky as it was before, so it's a lot easier to work with. And this is what it looks like. Oh, now I'm going to cover it a second time and let it rise in Mom's oven again. Again, Mom's oven isn't on. It's just a warm place for it to rise. And there it is, about to rise in the oven. And while the bread is rising, I go ahead and butter the pan. So I just take the butter and grease these pans. I'm going to use 4 pans. These 2 round ones are all clad pans that my mom happens to have, but it looks like they're cake pans, and they're about 9-inch round pans, baking pans for cakes. But that's what it is. It's an all-clad. And this looks like a Pyrex that she has, and it's square and it's glass. And that's about 8 inches. This looks as though it is stainless steel, and this is about 8 inches. So what I did was I buttered all of these. And the dishes you use can be glass, it can be stainless steel, it can be all-clad. It's not really that important. You can use whatever you have on hand that you usually bake cakes in or breads in. And that's what I'm going to use. Just make sure that you grease them, put butter on the bottom. And also when you grease them, make sure to grease the sides as well. And now you can see the dough has risen a second time, and it is over the top of the bowl. So now it is ready to divide into the pans and get ready to bake. So here's the dough that just came out of the oven in my mom. So you can see she's using this long handle, the long handle of this wooden spoon to divide the bread. She put some butter on the handle to make it easier so it wouldn't stick to the dough. And now you can see that it's in half. My mom took them all out of the bowl. And you can see now that she has 4 distinct dough balls.
Well,
about the same size. And they're all divided and very smooth looking. And what my mom did was take the dimes out of the saucepan and drain the water and just put them on some paper towels to dry. That's how you can dry them. Then my mom's using some wax paper here. This is what she's going to put the dimes in so that we can go ahead and put them in the bread. In order to put the coin in the bread, this is the little square wax paper that has the coin in it. I'm simply going to put it somewhere, just stick it into, you can see what I'm doing. I've stuck it into the bottom somewhere of the bread, and then I just simply close it. You just want to make sure that everything's all nicely closed in and that you can't see it anywhere. And see, I've hidden it right in there. That's pretty much all there is to it. Then my mom put these 4 dough sections that she divided into these pans. And you can cover them with just some kitchen towels like that. So I've let these breads rise in their pans for around 30 minutes, about a half hour. You can see that they're a lot closer to the edges. They've expanded to be a lot closer to the edges of the pan than they were before. And now what I've done is uncovered 2 of them because I'm going to bake 2 of them at a time. And 2 of them are still under the towels. So I went ahead and preheated the oven to 350 degrees. And then what I did was I cracked 1 egg and whisked it so that it's a little bit frothy here. Then I'm going to take this brush. This is just like a little egg wash. And just put the egg wash on these breads that I'm going to bake. I'm going to bake 2 at a time. Just like that. I'm putting the egg wash all over the top and the sides of the bread. Then my mom sprinkles sesame seeds on top. She puts the sesame seeds in a bowl and just uses a spoon to put them on top of each of the breads. Now they're ready to be put in the oven. Now the oven's at 350 and they've even risen even a little more, waiting for the oven to preheat. And we're just going to put 2 of them in the oven at a time. And here they are after coming out of the oven. They've been in there about 32 minutes. We just wanted to make sure that they were nice and had this pretty brown color on top. You don't want them to burn and be black and on top. So they need to have a pretty brown color like this. And you can also tell they're done if when you push gently, you see how the bread springs back? So if it's still dense, makes a dent and the dent stays there, it's not done yet. But you can see how this bread springs back when I touch it. And it's nice and brown on top. Beautiful. There you go. Now what my mom did was cover them with some kitchen towels now that they're out of the oven. She has a whole stack of them here, but she's just covering them as they come out to keep them fresh. And here are the other two, one in the glass pan and one in the stainless steel pan, and they came out beautifully also. And now we're going to go ahead and cover those with kitchen towels too.
Something like this. And outwards a little bit. And outwards a little bit. Let's hit it outwards a little bit. Okay. And you go all around it. Και σιγά σιγά θα ξεκολλήσει. Πού θα πάει?
Mom's saying that if you use the knife gently, if you have to use the knife, you separate it carefully.
If it happens to stick somewhere.
If it happens to stick somewhere, so that you can turn it over and air it out a little bit. That will help it to store longer without mold, getting moldy. Yeah.
This is almost out.
See, Mom and I have baked all of the breads, and this is the one over here that we cut up, and now is the fun part where we get to taste it. And Mom and I are having it with some coffee because it's a great way to have it. You can have it with coffee in the morning, or sometimes we've had it really late on New Year's Eve at 12 o'clock. We'll have the bread. So yeah, let's taste it. It looks very soft and fluffy. And what do you think, Mom?
Mastichi gives a nice flavor.
And she's saying that the mastichi, the mastic gum that we talked about, gives it a wonderful flavor. It is very unique, and I really hope that you will give it a try, because there's nothing like tasting this bread, and that the spice of mastichi is truly unique and different than probably anything else you've ever tasted. The smell of it is amazing too, isn't it, Mom?
Yeah, the smell is delicious. And the mastichi, you don't have to put a big amount, just a teaspoon of and you produce something that is unique.
Yes. She's saying you don't have to use much. But even if you use a small amount
of mastichi, that is.
Of mastichi, you can make this whole big amount of bread taste amazing. Amazingly delicious. Thank you so very much for watching our video about Greek Vasilopita. We hope that you enjoyed our video. And if you liked our video, please feel free to like, comment, and of course subscribe to the channel. We hope to see you again on gardening tips and Antigone's Greek cooking. Bye.
Bye.